In the year 1933, there was a single moment, a single flame in the heart of Berlin that would shatter a fragile democracy and reshape Europe. It was the night of February 27. The German Reichstag, symbol of the Weimar Republic, was engulfed in smoke and orange light. Firefighters fought blazes in the plenary chamber. Politicians and citizens stood stunned. In the ruins, police found a young Dutchman, Marinus van der Lubbe, arrested and soon confessing to the arson. Yet across the city, a political machine that had been quietly prepared for exactly such a crisis sprang to life. Adolf Hitler was chancellor for less than a month. The Nazi leadership, Hermann Göring, Joseph Goebbels, Heinrich Himmler among them, seized the moment. They declared the assault proof of a communist conspiracy to overturn the state. Night fell on the capital. The Gestapo and SA roamed, rounding up known communists, social democrats, trade unionists, editors, and anyone who might resist. Within 24 hours, President Paul von Hindenburg, urged and frightened by Hitler's ministers, signed the Reichstag Fire Decree. Civil liberties were suspended. Freedom of press, assembly, and privacy were crushed under emergency law. Thousands were arrested without charge. Newspapers were shut, telephones tapped, political opponents imprisoned. The decree did not create dictatorship by itself, but it erased the legal barriers that had protected parliamentary politics. The Reichstag fire became both spectacle and instrument. On the defendant's bench at the Leipzig trial that autumn sat a bewildering cast. The accused Dutch arsonist, van der Lubbe, Georgy Dimitrov, a Bulgarian communist and Comintern figure who had been detained in Germany and accused of masterminding the plot, and several other foreign communists. Dimitrov famously used the courtroom as a stage, turning the prosecution into an argument against Nazi theatrics. He was acquitted and became an international symbol of resistance. Van der Lubbe, however, was convicted and executed on January 10, 1934. Historians have argued fiercely over what actually happened that night. Was the fire the act of a lone, disenchanted man protesting unemployment and injustice, or was it a calculated provocateur's operation, planned and executed by Nazi operatives to provide a pretext for crushing dissent? Evidence is complicated. Multiple points of ignition, the rapid and dramatic way Nazis exploited the blaze, and later testimonies suggesting Nazi involvement have pointed many scholars to conclude that the regime either orchestrated the arson or knowingly used agents provocateurs. Others insist van der Lubbe acted alone. The historical record can be read in different ways, but what is indisputable is how the Nazis used the event. Within a month, the atmosphere of fear manufactured by the decree enabled the Nazis to silence or intimidate the deputies needed to pass the Enabling Act on March 23, 1933, a law that gave Hitler the power to enact legislation without parliamentary consent. From that day, the legal skeleton of the Weimar Republic was dismantled. Political pluralism collapsed. Concentration camps filled with opponents. The judicial system was reshaped to serve the Führer state. The Reichstag fire remains one of the 20th century's most consequential conspiracies, not merely for the question of who lit the match, but for how a single dramatic incident, seized and amplified by a ruthless political movement, can topple institutions. In the smoky aftermath, Germany learned how quickly law can be converted into instrument. A crisis manufactured or exploited becomes the lever of tyranny. Decades later, scholars continue to sift testimony, documents, and ashes. The debate endures because the stakes were so high. A democracy extinguished in a night, its fate sealed by fire and the men who refused to let the truth cool. The Reichstag still stands. Its charred memory remains a warning. When the rule of law is fragile, conspiracies of convenience can be as deadly as conspiracies of intent.